Governor John Bel Edwards today officially signed the state's fetal heartbeat bill. The House approved the bill last night. It prohibits abortions once a heartbeat is detected in a fetus. A big concern with the bill, there are no exceptions in cases of rape or incest. Governor Edwards told us earlier today that he believes he's doing what Louisianians want.
We can't allow those concerns to interfere with doing what we believe the people of Louisiana want us to do, and those things that are in accord with our deeply held convictions, such as this particular issue that we're faced with right now.
The fetal heartbeat bill will only take effect if the federal appeals court upholds a similar law in Mississippi. And this afternoon, Planned Parenthood held a rally at the state capitol. The rally took place on the Capitol steps and inside Memorial Hall. They're protesting the passage of the heartbeat bill.